Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Tap In. Today, we're speaking about none the less than an encyclopedia of occultism. That is a huge thing. This is the title of what my guest today has translated from G.O. Mebes. And, uh, and what a great work. So, very welcome to you, Yury Pankratov. I didn't even say that correctly, but Pan.
No, but that's okay.
When we rehearsed, it was right there. But anyway, welcome, Jury.
Thank you for having me on, Mana. It's a pleasure.
And so, am I right that it was a great piece of work translating that thing?
Oh, yes, it's a very big work. It's about 500 pages long, and it definitely deserves the title of encyclopedia
Yeah.
because of its scope.
And so, G.O. Mebes, he's in the context of Russian Martinism. Can you maybe set the scene? Also, I'd love to know why you care. Like, introduce maybe your own interest in this theme at all.
Well, okay, let's talk about me first.
Okay.
Uh, my name is Yury Pankratov, and not Pankratovich, as you told me. Okay. Anyway, I was born in Russia in 1985 in an industrial town called Dzerzhinsk. I received education in engineering and computer science, and I worked most of my life as a software developer. And I really believe that science and technology can solve all our problems and bring about a better future. And that was about until 2008, 2009 financial crisis that changed everything for me. I began to doubt that the bright future we were promised is actually going to arrive. And
Mm.
I began to look into the causes of this financial crisis. Let's just say that the official explanations didn't satisfy me, so I started looking for alternative explanations. And down that rabbit hole I went.
Yeah.
Uh, yes.
So it goes.
Yeah, I found out that most things that we're led to believe about the world are not true.
Yeah.
And from there I went to esotericism and magic, mainly through the works of American writer and occultist John Michael Greer. Several years later, I immigrated from Russia to the United States, where I now live.
Mhm.
And yes, that's my story in a nutshell. I don't pose myself as some great authority in esotericism. I'm still very much a student like you. I would say I'm just a guy who likes to read books, and I wanted to share some of the books with other people. The
Yeah.
short version, yes.
Ah, thank you. That's really great. And then I guess you pick up a thing or two from translating this piece of work. So
These works affected me quite a bit.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's meaningful for you to share it as well with the English reading audience. And so what is Russian Martinism? What is that? Because that's I feel like that's maybe the context we need to understand that first, that historic era.
Well, Martinism. Uh, the Martinists, they're members of a small Western Christian mystical tradition that started in the 18th century France. So it's French in origin.
Okay.
Their main idea is the fall and reintegration of the human soul through inner spiritual transformation. The soul fell into matter, and now we must return to its divine source, which is a process they call reintegration. And the whole movement grew out of the teachings and rites of Martinez de Pasqually and his pupil, Louis-Claude de Saint-Martin, uh, which is why they call themselves Martinists. Sometimes they call themselves Martinists dash Martinesists
Mm.
to emphasize both of the originators. Anyway, it was a loose movement until the 19th century. Gerard and Cos, who is mostly known by his nickname, Papus, organized the French Martinist order into an actual, well, order.
Hmm.
In early 20th century, he decided to expand the operations of the order to the east into Russia because he had a good relationship with the Russian Tsar. and
Okay.
visited him on several occasions.
Mm.
Now, I mean, he also predicted the death of the same Tsar. That was Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia. So that soured their relationship a little bit, but still, that was later. Anyway, he sends an envoy of the French Martinist order to Russia to seek for people who might be interested in spiritual development. And one of the first people he found was the author of this book. His name is Grigori Mebes. He was born Mebes, yes. He was born in, yes. He was born in Riga, Livland, what is now known as Latvia, and back then it was a province of the Russian Empire. He was a nobleman. He considered himself to be a Russian nobleman. He received his education in 91. He completed some sort of a degree in physics and mathematics in St. Petersburg University. And after that, he started teaching physics, mathematics, and French language in a number of elite schools in Russia. Of course, like all Russian noblemen, he was proficient in French. Okay. And from an early age, he had an interest in occultism.
Okay.
So by the time he met the envoy of the French Martinist order, he already had an esoteric worldview. And in a few months, just in a few months, he was initiated into the degrees of unknown superior and unknown superior initiator, which is the highest degrees that the Martinist order can bestow, yes. And he also received a patent to found his own Martinist lodge in Russia, which he promptly did and called it the Lodge of Saint Apollonius of Tyana. In 1911, he received a diploma of Doctor of Hermeticism from Papus himself and then the Academy of Hermeticism in Paris. And after that, he started to give public lectures on occultism in St. Petersburg. Now, you got to understand how much of a novelty it was at the time. So his lectures inevitably drew large crowds of people interested in occultism. And he titled that course of lectures A Concise Course on the Encyclopedia of Occultism, which is where we get the title of the book from. Right. He taught the fundamental of occultism and the Martinist tradition without revealing their initiatory secrets. Because, of course, it was a secret order. And afterward, the lectures were compiled into a book, which I have translated.
That's the thing. So these are lectures. And what year?
Yes.
Yeah, what year are we in?
1911, 1912.
That's the ones. Okay. Yeah, you call it a novelty, so that must be very special, and a lot of people wanting to come and listen to that and learn more. Yeah, interesting that he could talk about the secrets without sharing some of the secrets, at least. So he talks about 3 elements in the universe: archetype, man, and nature. And also the idea that we live on 2 planes. Well, that's kind of obvious that there's a spiritual plane and there's a physical one. So he talks about the spiritual world of ideas and the physical world of material objects.
Yes, these all are models.
Yeah.
You see, we humans are not very smart. We can't comprehend the universe as it really is. So we create simplified models of reality.
Absolutely.
Which serve as maps that help us navigate this confusing world.
Yeah.
And you can separate the world into 3 parts, which is, say, archetype, man, and nature, with archetype being the spiritual world of ideas, like the Platonic ideas, nature being our physical world that is realized, and man, or that is, say, human, represents the astral world that connects them. We can also divide the world into 4 parts, as in Kabbalah, where you have 4 worlds, the world of emanation, the world of creation, the world of formation, and the world of action. Or you can simply separate the world into two parts, spiritual and material, the above and the below. These are all different models or ways of viewing the world. In fact, much of the book goes to train your thinking. Unlike modern books on magic that focus on ritual and techniques, this one focuses on training your mind,
Interesting.
training you to think. Yes.
Oh, I like that.
There's a very core concept there is a binary in thinking, such as spirit and matter, spiritual material. The way it trains your mind is that you learn how to resolve those binaries. Like find what connects, what's in the middle, what's the middle term between spirit and matter. And that would be the astral world, which is made of kind of a matter, but more rarified, less dense than our physical matter. And it connects the world of pure ideas to the gross world of material manifestations.
Yeah, so that's the astral. I don't know if it's related, but I just have in my notes here around astrology, and I think that's also to do with why we need models of the world, because he says that the life of planets is unintelligible to us, or at least inexpressible with the formal elements of earthly logic. And then he talks about secondary causes.
Oh, yes, that's the seven secondary causes that refers to the seven planets. There are three
Okay.
primary causes, which are purely spiritual, and there are seven secondary causes, which are the planets that we know. And yes, we don't understand them completely.
Uh-huh.
Like today is Friday, it's the day of Venus.
Mm.
We know that Venus is associated with love, beauty, springtime, and flowers. But that's not all that she is, really.
Mm-hmm.
She is more than that. But we can't know it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know really how astrology developed, but I assume through observation.
Yeah.
Yeah, they thought, well, when this star or this planet is in the sky, this thing happens.
Yeah.
And they have observed the sky for thousands of years. And that's the models they created, which explain the planets and how they interact with us.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I get that. So he's actually saying it's not, we can't understand it, so we are creating models. That's basically what.
Basically, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, let's keep it basic because this
Let's
is
keep it basic.
let's keep it basic. It's pretty advanced level. Um. Okay. I'll move forward in my notes because I do have a lot I'd like to hear you about. So the concept of egregores.
Well, it's kind of a collective conscious of a group, and it has an astral body or astrasom, which astrasom is just from Greek astra and som. Literally, it means star body,
Okay. Yeah.
or as we call it, astral body.
Mhm.
So, like similar cells in your body come together to form an organ within your body. Well, so do people with similar ideas come together on the astral plane to form a collective entity called an egregore, and they subconsciously communicate on the astral plane through that egregore, and they feed them through their thoughts. As long as people keep believing in an idea, an egregore continues to exist.
Isn't it interesting? So it has a life on its own in a way, but it is fed by our thinking.
Yes, and it controls our behavior to a degree. So there can be good egregores and bad egregores. For example, an egregore of a good charitable organization will, well, it will compel its members to donate more to charity. That would be an example of a good egregore. I wanted to say also, if you want to know more about egregores, there's a great book that was recently written by Mark Stavish. If you want to know about egregores, I suggest you read that book.
Yeah, but I've read stuff by him. He's a really he's good with writing understandable, and then it's clear that he has a long background in mysticism. In the
Yes, he has a lot of practical experience.
Yeah, there's also a quote about how an egregore can heal a stranger.
Yes, egregores, they have a lot of powers over us. They can heal you, or they can hurt you. They don't like you. I think there are stories about people who were excommunicated from the Catholic Church that fell ill and died because their connection to that egregore was severed,
Hmm.
which is what excommunication really is.
Hmm.
Egregores can interact with other egregores as well. They can go to war with each other, or they can befriend each other and support each other. And when egregores go to war with each other on the astral plane, their members go to war with each other on the physical plane. And that's how wars over ideas are fought.
Is this under the frame that all is mind, that you can then meditate or clear your thinking to change this?
Well, you can choose to connect to egregore or choose not to if your thinking is clear enough. The main thing about the egregore is the symbol, the physical representation of it. If you want to disconnect from an egregore, you just remove all the physical symbols of it in your life. There was another interesting note in Mebes's book about egregores. He said when a representative of an egregore is killed on the physical plane, they become a martyr and they feed the egregore on the astral plane, making it stronger. And he gives an example of the early Christians that were sacrificed in Rome, like in the Colosseum. And it only went to strengthen the Christian egregore until it became the main religion of Europe.
Okay, so that was all egregores.
Yes.
Uh,
Well, I mean, there is a spiritual component to Christianity as well, but
yeah,
there's also an egregore. It's true of all religions.
yeah.
Yes, there is an egregore part and there is a spiritual part.
So what's the difference?
Spiritual reality exists by itself. It's the actuating cause. Egregores are created by human thinking.
Ah,
There's a spiritual idea, and there's human thinking that is centered around that idea.
interesting. What did you, when you read all of this, I mean, what did you connect to? What was important for you? What became like really significant to you when you read this book?
Well, there's so much.
Yeah.
It's it's hard to summarize. Well, he has a very interesting, if somewhat complicated, explanation of how things come into manifestation, and that's nothing in the world is created from nothing, but everything comes from interactions of two polarities, which can be called male and female. And that's what the whole Yod Hey Vav Hey cycle is about. Male principle Yod fertilizes the female principle Hey, and together they create an androgynous child, Vav. Taken all together, they create a physical manifestation, which is the second Hey, and that's Yod Hey Vav Hey. It was interesting because that's the name of the Hebrew God, and in fact, he presents it as just a mechanism of how things go into manifestation. And that's basically how he presents the entirety of his esoteric course. He teaches it more like a physics or mathematics.
Well, that's his background.
Yes,
In a way, similar to your computer engineering background.
yes. It was as if I taught spirituality as it was programming.
Yeah.
That's how his book differs from many others. It's very theoretical heavy and it's very, logical. To compare it with For example, I also translated the book of his student, Nina Rudnikova.
Yeah.
It's titled The Solar Way. And she talks about the same things, but in a more mystical context, devotional. Her main thing is service to the common good
Mm.
and realization of spiritual ideals on earth.
Mm.
But Mebes talks more about the mechanisms that underlie our reality.
And he has some good thinking there.
He was a very intelligent man, that's for
Yeah.
sure. He was considered, though, a little bit old-fashioned, even by his own students. So he was very old-fashioned in the early 20th century. He's definitely old-fashioned now.
For sure. How did that show up?
Well, it shows up in the language he speaks
Mm.
and in which the work was written.
Mm.
It was somewhat archaic, and
Mm.
he uses a lot of borrowed words from the French language.
Mm. Okay.
So it was a bit of a challenge to translate it. I always kept thinking, do I try to keep his style or do I modernize the language for my contemporary readers?
What did you choose?
It's a little bit of both,
Okay.
really.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'd love to just hear you about also arcana. So the word arcana from the major and the minor arcanas in tarot. How is it that he talks about the tarot as a diagram of the metaphysical worldview of ancient initiates, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
why what is important about arcana and how is
Well,
it? Yeah, because it's like an alphabet.
yes. Okay. Well, first of all, he has very specific meanings for the terms
Okay.
secret, arcanum, which
Mm.
is a singular form of arcana, and mysterium. So a secret is some information that people want to keep secret. That's just general. An arcanum is a secret that has some practical value that teaches us something about the world. In that sense, the laws of physics, like Newton's laws, would have been an arcanum if they were kept secret. The first Newton's law would be an arcanum, for example.
Mm. So it's like
And
a natural law that just are not shared.
yes, the main thing that it has practical application, it connects us to reality in some way.
Mm.
And a mysterium, it's a system of arcana that all work together to some purpose. And when he talks about an alphabet of ancient initiates, he
Yeah.
means that the tarot cards, they convey the worldview of the ancient initiate, how they understood the world, therefore how they could interact with it. He says that the tarot cards were invented in ancient Egypt. That was the main myth at the time. So now we know that historically tarot cards were created in, I think it was 17th century Italy,
Mm.
much later, definitely not in Egypt.
Mm.
Although you can say that the Egyptian priests created some sort of a precursor to the tarot cards.
Yeah.
They created a system of ideas
Uh-huh.
which existed on the astral plane. You can think of it that way.
Did you? Okay, so when you translated it, you were aware that this was a myth that the tarot
Yeah,
originated in
in
the.
Egypt, yeah, I knew it.
Did you put that in a footnote or something?
I mean, it's common knowledge these days.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, I will still hear that it is kind of mysterious with the actual origination of the tarot, right? There's Italy, but then what about before that?
Right. Well, the early 20th century occultists, they like the mystery of all of it.
Mm.
And they like to have ancient origins for their ideas.
Yeah.
The older, the better.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Okay. I'm gonna ask you a few more questions here. So every cycle of initiation, because now we've said that every tarot card is an initiation. So every initiation is divided into 3 stages along the quarters of the geometric circle.
He does divide initiation into 3 cycles: the physical, the astral, and the archetypal or spiritual. Basically, the physical initiation is what happens in secret lodges and magic orders, where people perform a physical ritual to initiate you. Astral initiation, which is you do mostly by yourself or accompanied by a teacher who has a physical body, like a human. And the spiritual or archetypal initiation is something that you do all by yourself and maybe guided by spirits.
Mm.
Concerning what he did, what he said about the circle, I'm not entirely sure what he means by that. It has
Okay.
something to do with sacred geometry, I believe.
I'm distracted by I think you have playing cats in the background. Is that right?
Yes, I have cats. I love cats.
They look sweet. Okay, just my last section here is about transmutation, and that they're all based on universal theoretical principles applied to different mediums. Yeah, I think it's related to make gold, you must have gold. This saying. Um, what is his take on transmutation? Because that's, I guess, is the point of it all.
Regarding transmutation, I can tell this. Alchemy, it's not a single field of study like chemistry or physics. It's more of a universal method which can be applied to different areas of human life. We should be talking not about a single alchemy, but multiple alchemies, each one applied to a different subdivision of nature. In exactly the same way, the different sciences apply themselves to particular clusters of phenomena of the material world.
Mm.
So, for example, if you apply the principles of alchemy to the material, you get physical transmutation, at least in theory, lead into gold and things like that. If you apply the principles of alchemy to the human soul, you get psychological alchemy of Carl Jung.
Yeah.
And I suppose there's also must be a mental alchemy, which when you apply the principles of alchemy to your thoughts. As for this alchemical saying, in order to make gold, you must have gold. Well, I think it might have multiple meanings, as all alchemical riddles usually do.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, basically it means that you can't create something from nothing.
Mm.
You have to work with the existing material. And I think the basic idea of alchemy, that anything can be transmuted into anything else,
Mm.
because everything is made of this basic building block called the prima materia of the first matter. And you can say that it also has a physical, an astral, and a archetypal components to it. And the physical component of it, I was said, is hydrogen. Take it for what it is.
That's the physical component is hydrogen.
Is hydrogen, yes. You can also interpret to make gold, you must have gold. You can interpret it as, alchemy being a very expensive endeavor.
Mm.
And you need to have a lot of money to afford to perform alchemy,
Like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
especially a laboratory to perform metallic alchemy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought of it like you have to feel like you have it before you have it, that sort of thing.
Well, it's like Paracelsus said, we can't transmute anything outside that we haven't transmuted within ourselves.
Yeah.
So yes, First, there has to be an inner transformation. You have to find the inner gold before you can find the outer gold.
Okay,
As
so
I said, it can be interpreted in so many ways.
yeah. Great. All have a truth in them. And was he, would you say he was an occultist? Would you say that about him?
Mebes, yes, he was definitely an occultist.
Okay, so I'm actually curious what your definition of an occultist is.
Well, you can say there are three pathways in esotericism. One is magic, that's ritual, that's developing your will and in a certain way forcing the reality to conform to your will. That's the most common way in these days, ritual magic. The second path is the path of mysticism, the path of love and union with your God, with the God. And the third path would be occultism, the development of your mind, development of wisdom. And in that sense, Mebes was definitely an occultist. This is enlightenment through development of the mind.
They go well together though, right?
Yes, ideally you want to have all three.
Yeah.
But people usually tend to lean into one of the three.
Interesting. What are you leaning to?
I guess I'm also leaning into occultism, development of the mind.
Yeah. I feel like I'm both mysticism and occultism because it's the whole union and that experience and that devotion to, like you say, love and truth and the divine. I mean, it becomes in a way not inspiring for me if I don't know anything, if I don't have also the wisdom and the cultivation of continual knowledge and self-cultivation. I mean, but that would be boring if I was never experiencing, the harmony and the devotion.
Yes,
Yeah.
direct experience is very important. I
Yeah.
was also doing some astrotheurgy, I suppose you could call it, seeking union with celestial bodies, like our seven planets
Yeah.
and the fixed stars. But it brings about some very interesting experiences, some unusual thoughts and emotions after communing with a star or a planet.
How did you do that?
How do I do it? Through, well, Orphic hymns and also contemplation of symbols. You light up some incense, you recite the Orphic hymn, and you concentrate on a symbol.
Wonderful.
And then you go quiet and meditate.
Yeah.
And observe the thoughts and feelings that arise.
Yeah. That sounds
How do you do it?
Yeah, well, definitely some sort of meditation. I've just started also cold water plunge. I think that's the English term for it. Kind of a Viking thing,
Right.
like
Yes.
want to be Viking. And to some people, that's of course just a practice, but to me, it's very spiritual. It's like really just soaking in that water element, looking up at the sky. I'm feeling, and just we do that naked, right? So it's like animal body here being transformed, even baptized. I mean, I feel a lot of mystic experience in doing that.
I recently started practicing the Wim Hof breathing
Oh,
method.
great.
Yes. And it also has a spiritual component to it.
Yeah.
It really energizes your body. Well, first of all, it squeezes everything out of it, but then you feel so energized.
Yeah. And the whole breathing, like breathing is a spiritual practice.
Yes. I was told that breathing alone can bring you profound spiritual experiences if you practice it diligently enough.
Okay, so Yury, I've also seen your chart just a little bit. Do you know about your own astrology? Do you care about astrology in that kind of sense with natal charts?
Well, yes, I do. It's a way of self-knowledge, I believe.
Okay, yeah, great. Is there a lot about that in the book?
There is, I think, 3 chapters that concerned astrology. Chapter 7 deals with the planets and planetary types of people, which how planets define our character and even our physical characteristics.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yes.
So,
So he says that Leos have yellowish skin and
okay.
fair hair, like a lion's mane.
Yeah. How do we feel about that?
As a Leo, well, maybe there's some truth to that. I think my skin is a little bit yellowish. But he says all people are microcosmic, which means they're a small world. They have all the planets within them. So nobody is ever really a pure type.
No. Agree on that for sure.
Also, he goes into calculating the planetary hours. He shows you how to do it by hand in his book. And he also goes a little bit into predicting the future via astrology. But I have to say, he didn't really believe in the predictive power of astrology
Okay.
because for him it was a question of free will.
Yeah.
He believed that free will can always win over the stars, and
Mm.
that only people who are fatalists are ruled by the stars. That
Mhm.
was his position.
Yeah. No, but that's a really, I think, common philosophy and kind of a conundrum we have to chew upon when we go into astrology. It's like, So,
I mean, I
I mean,
think people have free will, but they mostly don't use it.
yeah, but the whole thing that we're more fated to our chart when we are less conscious. I mean, that's
Yeah,
easy.
when we are less conscious, we are ruled by our charts.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So,
So, is there anything interesting you found in my chart?
yeah. Well, it's this wonderful combination of Leo 12th house. And so it is someone who is really can really go out into the world and express themselves, except that for your own personal identity, it might not be the most pleasant thing to be all out there. So that's the thing about the 12th house is what we give to the public, but then but there's some ambivalence to it because it's also I you also kind of want to be in the background.
That's true.
So it's good with translating someone else's work. That's maybe an example of it.
It allows me to both be in the background and deliver something to the public at the same
Right.
time.
Exactly, exactly. And then I think also the diligence that you need in order to translate a book like that. I think your Capricorn moon, it's right in Capricorn there, right? 0 degrees of Capricorn.
0 degrees, yes.
Yeah,
I'm
zero.
all about work.
You all about
My
hard work.
work is, yeah, my work is my life.
Yes, wonderful. Yeah, I think that's really helpful with that Capricorn, and also to care about old times, caring about traditions, and someone who's a role model. Like,
Well, yes, the historic aspect of this work is really important to me, the preservation of tradition.
yeah,
Now, I gotta say, to be fair, that my translation is not the first one. There was a translation of Mebes's book a few years ago.
okay,
Every translator has his own view of the work. I
interesting.
offered mine.
Right. So do you have many changes in yours? Is it very different than the other one?
I would say yes. I mean, it's the same book,
Yeah.
but I'm a native Russian speaker, so
Mhm.
I may be able to see some subtle details
For sure. For sure. Do you know?
which other people might miss.
Absolutely. I mean, are you aware of the nuances of the differences? Are you not sure what the differences are?
Well, some words have multiple meanings,
Mm.
which you can only get in the context and in the context of Russian culture.
Mm. Are you trying really hard not to criticize the other book?
Yes, I am. I don't want to be that guy who
Okay.
trashes other people's work.
Okay, okay, okay. But you with good reason, you did this.
I believe I had good reason to create my own translation.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I've got to say about
That's
that.
all I gotta say. Good. No more comments about that.
Mhm.
Good. I like it. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's really good with the Capricorn moon and Saturn on the south node there. That's definitely, I think, coming in with that task of looking also to the past times.
I
And
also wanted to say how Mebes' story and life ended.
yes, please say that. Let's give it our last section. How did his life go?
After the October Revolution,
Mhm.
after the Bolshevik Revolution, Mebes decided to stay in Russia, even though many of his students fled. And I often think why he decided to stay, because he could have returned to Latvia, which became an independent country. And there are two explanations. The most charitable one is that he stayed because of his sense of duty to his disciples. He didn't want to abandon them.
Mm,
That's the most noble motive.
okay.
The last charitable explanation that he stayed because of his ego, because in Russia he was this great teacher, the leader of the autonomous Russian Martinist order,
Mm,
and also its father and invisible master. Unlike the Golden Dawn, who said that they communicated with the invisible masters, he was the invisible master himself. He called himself that.
did he?
So, yeah, so another reason why he might have stayed was pride. He was a very proud person, and he probably thought he could outsmart the communists.
Mm,
And for a while he did. So 1917 until 1926, he continued to operate with his small circle of disciples in secret. But then one of his disciples betrayed him. He wanted to make a deal with the secret police so he would be allowed to leave and go to Europe. So he betrayed his teacher, gave up his identity and the identity of everyone else. And so one night in April, they were all arrested
oh
and
no.
charged, yes, for being the leaders of the Masonic movement.
Oh,
And Freemasonry was one of the first movements outlawed by the communists, by the way. So he was charged and he was sentenced to 3 years in exile in the Ural Mountains
mm,
in the east. And then his sentence was extended by another 3 years. And he either died in exile in the camps in 1930, or according to other sources, Mebes was released and settled somewhere in the east and died in 1934. And that's how his story ended.
that's
And
so good. So it ended in
um,
exile.
yeah, he ended in prison,
Oh, in prison. That's so.
basically. And it's sad. And unfortunately, it's a pattern with many Russian occultists. I've been reading many histories, and they all go, they were doing really well until the revolution, and then it all came to an end.
So what was it with that revolution that made that happen?
Happened There's many reasons for the revolution to happen,
No, but what in the revolution made them exile occultists?
because it was a very ideological revolution, and they wanted to control the human minds as well as their bodies.
Mm.
And the thing with Freemasons and other occultists that they want psychological autonomy, and
Yes.
a totalitarian state cannot have that.
Mm. Mm.
So Mebes' teaching survived because of his students who went either to Europe or to China.
Okay.
In fact, the copy of the book that survived was the one from Shanghai. There was a big Russian center in Shanghai,
Okay.
and the other one in Europe in Estonia.
Mm.
And that Shanghai version of the book was rewritten and republished in Russia in the 1990s.
Mhm.
And that's how I got it.
That's how you got
The-
it.
Mhm.
I mean, it's so important, these books, right?
Mhm.
It's so important so we don't forget, and so the wisdom survives, and it's so heartbreaking what we're doing to each other like that. To
Oh, yes.
that make it so difficult.
I guess the moral of the story is if your country is taken over by violent communists, you should flee.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. That's what you began with, saying that maybe he stayed because of his ego and his pride and calling himself
Yes.
invisible master. Okay. Okay, right. Got it. Yeah. I
In
wonder.
the end, he wasn't as invisible as he thought he was.
Oh, yeah. He was to be found. Oh man. Okay, Yuri, thank you so much, and apologize for pronouncing your last name so poorly.
That's okay.
When I get
Uh,
and then a
in
foreign
a,
word.
in America, nobody can pronounce my last name anyway, so I'm used to that.
Oh, okay, but I actually did it just before we started recording, right? Pankratov.
You did it right,
Right?
Pankratov. Yeah.
So easy. It's just because I got excited and just blurted out the words. Anyway, this wonderful book that you've
Oh,
translated.
yes. I
Yeah.
want to say I also have a Substack,
Yeah.
Russian Esotericism,
Mm-hmm.
Substack.com.
Wonderful.
Check it out.
Check it out. So, yeah, I'll put that link and then the link to the book in the show notes to this episode so people can find you and find more about this. Yeah, wonderful. Great. It's so valuable with Substack, apropos free thinking, right?
Right.
That's the thing. That's what you're doing there. Thank you so much for being here and sharing about your new book.
Thank you, man. The pleasure was all mine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.